Hey, buenos dias, ¿qué pasó, you guys? John's Motor Garage. Welcome back to the channel. So apparently, once again, Indian Motorcycles is knocking off Harley Davidson, and a couple days ago they released the new Chief Sport. There we go. Now, for starters, this is not an everything you need to know about the Chief Sport. This is just my unsolicited opinion on the motorcycle. So I want to start out by addressing the elephant in the room. Is Indian Motorcycles just ripping off Harley Davidson? I don't think there's any question that Indian is coming after Harley, and I don't think they're trying to hide the fact that that's the case. For almost every Harley model, Indian has an answer to it. They've got an answer to the Road King, the Road Glide, the Street Glide, the Sportster. I mean, you name it, they've got an answer pretty much except for the Pan America, and up to this point, except for the Low Rider S. And honestly, I don't have a big problem with that. I don't see what the big deal is, because the way I see it is competition is going to help drive innovation, which ultimately for the consumer is a good thing. If you don't like the knockoff, just go with the original. Let me know below in the comments, what do you think about Indian knocking off Harley Davidson? And I do have to say, Indian does have their original FTR 1200. Just for the record. Alright, so now let's talk about this Chief Sport. No question, this is a knockoff or going after the Low Rider S. If you look at the two side-by-side profile, they both have the inverted front forks, even down to that solo seat. As far as the club style bars go, yeah, I don't think there's any question. Now, personally, I still lean towards the Low Rider S as far as the overall styling goes. That's just my personal preference. When I first saw the Chief Sport, was not super stoked on that front fairing, but I decided to look into it a little bit deeper, and there are some things that stand out that I think are pretty rad about this motorcycle. For one, the Fox piggyback reservoir shocks. For two, the inverted front forks. For three, I think they did a great job with the risers. And for four, the dual disc Brembo brakes. I had the FTR recently, and it was equipped with those Brembo brakes. Freaking amazing brakes. No complaints there whatsoever. Now, if you compare it to the Low Rider S, they both come in close to the same price point. They weigh about the same as far as performance specs. I think they're pretty close as well. Honestly, with the Indian, the only thing I would do is throw in a 2-into-1 exhaust, and bam, you've got a beautiful club style build right off the factory floor. And that's the only thing up to this point. Indian doesn't really have a club style Chief. A couple years back, Carey Hart did a custom club style build on the Chief platform, which really opened my eyes to the possibilities with that motorcycle. So now, bam, they've delivered. So this is great, I think, for a couple reasons. For one, some people just don't want to go with the Harley, so bam, you have an alternative. But for two, based on my understanding, those Harley Low Rider S's are really hard to come by these days, and if you do find one, you're going to be paying well above MSRP for that. So for somebody who maybe doesn't want to pay that extra cost, you have the Indian alternative. Hopefully these will be available close to that MSRP. My takeaway from this really is that time and time again, Indian is demonstrating that they actually seem to be following trends, taking feedback from the customer base, and looking at their target demographic. And I think they do a great job really targeting that demographic. I mean, you look at the video of this new Chief Sport, and you've got a dude, he's got the flannel, he's got the vest, the dude's ripping the Vans. I mean, honestly, he looks like Marvel Kid 87 ripping around on there. They're doing burnouts, and they're just ripping around, having a good time on the motorcycle. And I think that really helps the potential buyer to imagine themselves ripping around on the bike and having a good time. I think Indian does a great job with that, and that's something that perhaps Harley Davidson could take a note out of Indian's book and rip them off in that regard. But those are my thoughts on the Chief Sport. Just not a fan of the fairing, but everything else I think is pretty rad. I think it's a great new addition to the options that we have as consumers. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the Chief Sport. Would you take that over the Low Rider S? Which one do you prefer? And I think that's going to do it today. Like and subscribe if you dig it. I appreciate the support, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Adios, hasta luego, nos vemos.